Devin, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited we actually hit record because we've had some fun already.
Talking about how old we are, but we don't feel as old as we really are. Like I think like that's we're recording this just so people know we're recording this the day before my birthday. So I'm turning 41 tomorrow. And you kind of have these realizations as you go through life of like because you're so in life, right? Like you don't realize like how old you've gotten, and you look back and go, "Wow, I've really gained all this traction." And you were talking about how you went from being the young, inspiring entrepreneur to being the seasoned veteran. Talk a little bit about that, man. What's that like walking into rooms now, being the seasoned veteran? Like you came and talked to my mastermind when we were in DC.
Yeah, man, it's really it's fun and I don't take it for granted. I think would be the thing I really want to say is like I feel like I really appreciate my role now, which is stepping in and being the mentor, being the person bringing in wisdom and knowledge and value. In so long I've been the mentee and I still am. I still have coaches and groups that I participate in, but it's really fun to really step into that next role of like, how do I give back? How do I pour into others? How do I compress their timelines so that they can have success sooner, so that they can learn the lessons I learned sooner, so they can avoid some of those things. So it's really fun, man. And it's exciting. Like it's so exciting for me to be in this stage. And yes, thank you so much for having me come to your group. It was so fun, one, hanging out, and then two, just pouring into them and, giving back any way I can.
Yeah, somewhere on the internet, people on my Instagram, there's a video of people dancing. So you can see Devin dancing with us. He jumped right in, became part of the weird group, and had a blast. But yeah, man, it's interesting. I think I kind of stepped into that role as well of mentor, obviously leading the mastermind, and I've led many retreats and so on and so forth. But one thing I always stay true to is always being curious and always making sure that I'm growing and learning from people who have, are 10 steps ahead, 15 steps ahead, hell, a step ahead. How do you make sure that you are in the right rooms in order to learn when you're not trying to be the mentor?
Yeah, it's so funny. I got asked this about podcasts, and so let's tie it together because someone's like, "Why are you on so many podcasts?" Because I love every conversation, right? And it makes me learn my pitch, learn my answer, learn how to approach what I'm doing. And so I say yes a lot, even sometimes if I don't understand why. I just let the network open the doors and guide the process, and then I show up. And oftentimes, and I talk to this with some of my clients where they're like, "Man, I don't want to go to that event. It doesn't pencil out. Blah 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 blah." And they're so stuck in the numbers or stuck in the metrics. And I'm looking at it from a relational standpoint. I'm like, man, I want to be in that room. Like, I want to learn from those people. And even if we don't get a direct ROI, I'm so confident that there'll be some intangible ROI. And so I like to just put myself in every environment. And then, like you said, curiosity is it, right? I want to show up and look around. How are they hosting an event? Who's here? Who are the sponsors? What can I learn from how they're displaying stuff? How are they communicating? How are they talking? What tools are they using? What swag are they giving out? Like I can learn something in any environment. And so that's part of my job, right? In every meeting I'm in, what can I learn about? What can I do? And so I challenge that for everyone. Like no matter what you're doing or where you're going, put yourself in more places and then look around. Like pick your head up and like really dissect the situation and what can you learn from it.
Yeah, dude, I'm constantly looking at my environment. Like a couple of years ago, I had this aha moment of realization of one when I started to meet people and you start to network and you start speaking at events and you start meeting other speakers and build those relationships with them. You then realize that these speakers no longer attend events unless they're speaking. And I was like, why is that? What like do they feel like they're better than like what's the case there? And a couple of years ago I was like, you know what, I don't want to be that person, and so I started like buying tickets to events and just going. And I'd always have an intention of some kind, right? Like, let me see how they're doing this. Or, hey, there's a couple speakers there that are semi in my network that I want to kind of connect with and show up. And so that alone is enough ROI for me, to pay for a ticket, to get a plane ticket, to do all the things they need to do to go to an event. I get it's an investment, but you're very, very similar. You show up into a room and I can tell you're very, very aware of everything that's happening at all times. You're constantly paying attention to how people move, how they're interacting. And then more importantly, you're worried about adding value to other people's lives. And I think that is the piece that so many people miss. They're worried about what am I getting out of it? Instead of showing up and going, what am I putting in? Where did that come from for you? Why is giving so much value more important to you than getting value?
Yeah, it was born. So I had a digital agency, was my first kind of big business, and I found myself in a crowded marketplace with scarcity mindset, competition. Everyone was just it was very messy. And I was talking to my kind of one of my first mentors back then, like, there's got to be another way. Like, this is, if this is business, I'm not interested. Like, I don't want to play this way because I want to refer business to my competition. Like, I don't want to fight. Like, there's so much abundance in the world, yet people like claw at the one client they have or whatever. So I was blessed that they, showed me that abundance exists. And so I just started dissecting the traditional sales model and said, like, how do I do this different? Like, how do I give? How do I get rid of all these limiting beliefs on, like, oh, if I give them everything, they won't sign up. Well, if I give them everything and they don't sign up, they weren't a client. Like,
Yeah.
fantastic. Right. And so I just really kept leaning in. And the more I leaned in, the more I gave, the more education I provided, the more connections I made, the more I helped others, the more crazy things started to happen. Doors would open, opportunities would show up, and then I'd have friends and I'd have mentors and I'd have clients even going, like, how did you end up here? Like, how are you sponsoring this thing? Like, I know your business isn't successful enough to sponsor this big event. Like, well, we come to a great situation and it worked, right? Or how are you in this room? I got an invite. Well, how'd you get an invite? It's a really long story and it involves 19 people and a lot of trust and faith. And so I would say I leaned in and I saw enough come back that I just continued to double down and double down and double down. And now that's all we do. My number one core value is always add value. And that's what we teach everyone. Like, change everything and lead that way. And it unlocks so much, even in your current environment, because it shifts the way you look at everything. It shifts to the way you show up to every meeting, every conversation, every email you send. It changes all of it.
Yeah, you and I got connected through Brian Bogert, and he said you guys should need to know each other, and there was a potential in you guys sponsoring my event with a company that you work with, and I was like, great, let's connect. And immediately, when I get in a call like that, you immediately think that person on the other end who's willing to give you money to sponsor your event will be like, well, what else can I get? What else can I get? And even in that conversation, you were like, well, how can we add value to the people that are in the audience? And from there, you always win. Now, your shirt says, who can I connect you with? From day one of meeting you, I was like, oh, this guy figured out being a super connector. This guy figured out what it truly means to make meaningful relationships for other people and to connect them. Where did you notice that? Because I will say this, for the longest, I'm a pretty good connector, but for the longest time, people would say, being a connector is great, but you can't make it a business. Being a connector is great, but there's nothing there. Being a connector is great, but whatever, right? There's always these excuses. And you figured a lot of that out. Talk a little bit about that journey and how you got into this world of connection.
Yeah, people approach connection, and let's call it what it is. It's referrals the majority of the time. So when we get into this connection world, most people instantly they're thinking about referrals, client referrals. That's where we get to with connections. And if you think about solving the problem, and I call it the referral dilemma, right? How do I get my network or my clients to open more doors for me, right? Traditionally, if you look to solve that problem, it's solved around this idea that they have to refer me a prospective client so that I can sell to them. And there's so many hurdles in what that sentence. They have to refer me, so they have to position me to sell to someone, a prospective client, someone that they think is qualified, right timing, right budget, right fit, so that I can sell to them. No one wants to be sold. Everybody's ready to buy, but they don't want to be sold. Like it's a game that doesn't work. In fact, if you dig into the research, 5% of the time is when it works, and 5% is horrible. But that's the statistics. Statistically, the best referral program, the best client referral strategy, the best network referral strategy produces a 5% return. That's still good because that's untapped potential. And yes, you should do that. You should get that revenue. And so I just, again, challenge myself to go, well, if that's true, well, what else is there? And it really came down to this idea of, well, what if we change what we're asking for? So what if Justin and I sit down and Justin goes, Devin, who do you want to know? And instead of me going, I want to know a B2B business owner who's looking for this thing and they have this problem and they're looking to scale and grow and blah, blah, blah. And now Justin's sitting here like just narrowing your network down to nothing. And in a first meeting, you don't trust me enough to refer people to me yet. Like, I haven't earned that. And so we just flipped it on its head and said, okay, well, where and what would the ask have to be so that you'll refer me to people and I can make connections for you and there's no friction? And that led to the connection expansion exercise, where we then take the ideal client and we build the 6 buckets. So we could use vendors as an easy example for people, right? Who sells to your client? That could be your ask. So, hey, Justin, I want to meet mastermind hosts because mastermind hosts have groups of people that are investing in themselves that want to grow. Fantastic, right? Those are people I can help build strategic relationships in a non-competitive way. So I would love to meet mastermind hosts, right? And now all of a sudden you're like, I know some community hosts. Let me get you connected, right? Because there's no friction. No one's being sold. The sales pitch is, hey, can I come in your group and add as much value as possible in whatever time you allow me? And yes, I'm going to ask them to come hang out in my school community, which is free and full of more value. Is that okay? Like, yeah, it's okay. Oh, and by the way, in the first meeting, I'm going to introduce you to 3 people guaranteed. So now the person I'm meeting is going to get 3 connections because I'm connecting them with strategic connections, not prospects. And so that's the big shift in this idea of building relationships and connections is we have to think about it different and stop chasing the client and start chasing the partnerships, the podcasts, the stages, the bigger opportunities.
Yeah, let me ask you this. How do you keep track? Because obviously your network is vast now. You've met so many people. You've gotten on so many calls. You've made so many connections. How do you keep track of certain things? And I'm going to use this as an example. We were supposed to hop on a call yesterday, but he got pulled into a meeting and had to shift some things around. But you connected me to somebody. We won't say names just for the sake of this conversation, but you connected me to somebody who's a wrestling fan because I'm a wrestling fan. So I get connections all the time. Like it's very overwhelming to me. You should know this person. And a lot of times it's because that person wants to be on my podcast or whatever the case may be. So I tend to avoid connections a lot of the times. But you put in the bottom, I want you two to connect just because of your love for wrestling. And I was so excited for that conversation. Like I booked him immediately. I was like, let's hop on a call. How do you remember or keep track of like the things people love? Do you have a spreadsheet? Is it in your phone? Because I know it's not all up in your brain, dude. Like I understand what happens in an entrepreneurial brain. You're not holding it all right there.
Yeah, I would say my recall ability is exceptionally high. And so that is something that is a cheat code for me. I do take copious amounts of notes. Yes, we use AI too, right? So we hook Fathom in and we're getting AI notes. And then we use that to build really deep tag lists for each person. So tags based on location, target industry, provider, podcast host, mastermind host, event host, speaker, author, all of this set of things. And then when we can capture interests, we try to put those in there too. Because what I find is like that connection was so fun for me because I've already connected him with a few people. I've kind of like checked all my boxes and I got on with him and I said, man, like I see all the wrestling stuff in the background. And then I happen to have just seen all your social posts from you being at the event. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh my
Goldberg,
God,
yeah.
I got to get you guys connected. And so the way that one clicked for me, and this is a cheat code for everyone. I know people are like, I don't want to doom scroll. I don't want to be on these things. My wife's the same way. She's like, I get on Instagram. She puts her post up. She gets off. I said, no, you need to scroll for at least 5 minutes because you need to see what are the other people in your network, especially the people you really like the Justins of the world. Like, what is Justin doing? And I see a couple stories and go, oh, he's at wrestling. Well, now that's in my head. Oh, and 3 days later, I reconnect with someone I've already known who's got all of the big belts hanging behind him in his Zoom. And it's like, you guys will just enjoy geeking out. And sure, I'm sure there's more benefit, but that's how it came. So I challenge people, like, pay attention. Like, look at what the people in your world, your friend group, your inner circle, your clients, what are they doing? And look for those moments, right? We got on and Justin said, we're recording this the day before my birthday. Great. The first note in my notepad is I'm going to send Justin a sugar wish following this meeting so that tonight or tomorrow, Justin's going to get an email with a little gift in it and go, what the hell? You didn't have to do that. So I share that now because I want people to go, did you hear it? And then did you act on it or do something with what you witnessed or what you saw?
Yeah, dude. And it's funny. Like, I don't know if you know these, I won't say these other people, but just recently I had somebody speak to my mastermind and somehow it came up that I was a baseball fan. A week after he spoke to my mastermind call, baseball came in the mail, signed by all of the Phillies from the 1984 team, game used ball. So he knew when I was born, perfectly signed, like sent to me. I didn't ask, there was no whatever. I was like, this is crazy. And another time I was interviewed on a podcast and some dude sent me a Scott Rowland signed photo because I mentioned that it's Phillies. But those individuals will forever live in my mind because they acted on it, right? And I think a lot of people miss that boat. Like, and I want to say because they go inward and they say to themselves, and I think we've already hit on this, but I want to go a little bit deeper. They always worry about like what's in it for me. What am I getting out of this versus like how can I just add value? How can somebody be and it's scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, right? Talk to somebody early on in the entrepreneurial journey, as some of them listen to this show, who is in that scarcity mindset, who's only worried about the next client who's willing to pay them. How can they get out of that to get into the abundance mindset in order to give more than they receive?
Oh man, we're having so much fun. This is great. So, what I would say is I would ask you, so one of our core principles too is control what you can control. So if you're sitting there, you're listening that and what Justin just asked aligns with you, right? You're in that kind of ramping up mindset. You're trying to get the next deal. I get it. Cash has to flow. Deals have to be there. Yes, you need money, right? Period. How do we still show up authentically without the urgency and I call it commission breath, right? Like, how do we do that? Well, we have to think about what makes people, you got to get into the psyche of people, right? What makes people buy? What makes people want to do business with you? What makes you memorable? So create some wow moments. And so I talk to you about this all the time, right? Just go create wow moments. And the wow moments typically come from deep listening and observation. And so I used to do this all the time when I had my digital agency. I would meet people in their office, right? It was a lot of FaceTime, real in-person meetings. And I would pay attention to their office and I would notice something, the car they drive, a color, they're super patriotic, they like reading, whatever it is. And I would add that to the note. And then I would go to my assistant and I'd say, hey, this is what I learned about them. Wow them. And the wow budget was $25. And sometimes it was just a Hot Wheel. Like we would track down a Hot Wheel that looked like their dream car, and we'd send it to them.
Yeah.
I found out the one guy loved M&Ms, but he like joked because I saw a bunch of candy dishes. He's like, I like the M&Ms, but I only like this color. But he was kind of joking about it. So we only ordered that color of M&Ms for him from the M&M factory and dropped it to him. So like, why do we do those things? Why do I spend $25 on these prospects or these first meetings? Like, why is that interesting? Because your competition's not doing it. So if we actually get back to sales, right? They're not buying you because your product, widget, or thing is actually better. Sometimes that's a true statement. Usually they're buying you, right? They're buying you, the person in front of them, the salesperson, the business owner. That's what they're buying because they trust you. There's a deep relationship. So if you can create a moment like Justin already highlighted where you're memorable, even if they don't need you today, in the future, when that need arises, you're the default. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, I remember that time Devin sent me that Hot Wheel. Matter of fact, I have it on my desk and I still play with it during Zoom meetings when I get bored. You know what? Let me call Devin because I think that's what he does. So I would challenge people to, yes, do the best sales tactics, be curious, ask questions, do consultative sales is always my advice, but look for the wow moments and then just integrate something that's fun for you. And make it a challenge. Like, who could you wow today or do something fun and surprising for and just chase that?
Yeah, dude. And I also like the one thing that I pride myself on is always being aware of those little things. Right. I noticed when we were together in DC a little nod to Mickey Mouse. And I was like, dude, are you a Disney person? There's Walt and Mickey right there, dude. But I was like, are you a Disney person? And you're like, and you literally took off your glasses and you showed me the inside of your glasses, which is, what is it? It's Mickey Mouse heads, right?
Yeah, Mickey Mouse. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, that's wild. What I said to you was, I love Disney. I love everything about it. I'm not a Disney adult though. Right. So I'm not the one rocking the Mickey shirts 24/7. I'm not wearing ears in the park. I'm not doing any of that stuff. But again, then there's this common ground of like, what I really want to do is find a time for you and I just to go to Disney and hang out. Right. And just for the day and spend it in the parks or whatever. But with that being said, man, I think now as an entrepreneur, I love Disney from what I learned from how they create experiences. Talk a little bit about kind of your draw now as an adult into the Disney World sector and what you're learning from what they're creating for other people as they navigate. And there's so many changes happening there now that you can really kind of learn from.
Yeah, I think, we just got back from Vegas. We drove down and back. And so I'm up in Reno. So it's a 6.5 hour drive. We listen to a lot of podcasts. And that's what my wife and I like to do on road trips. And listen to some business interviews. And I share this because in one of the interviews, it was Kevin O'Leary, and he was talking about working with Steve Jobs and his lessons learned because he was observant. He was looking at the culture, the shifts, the dynamics. And so I think what I appreciate about what Walt created is these full immersion experience from sight, smell, the go away green, right? That gets rid of the buildings and goes out of your eyesight, and testing that. All the little itty bitty minute details that as a consumer, most of you don't pay attention to, right? But I go in and I'm looking at all of that. And so that fueled, like when we did our cat cafe, we looked at what colors do we use and how do we create immersive environment? What smells are in each zone so that we can get people engaged from a sensory standpoint? What tastes do we want them to taste so that they feel comfortable and relaxed and here? And so I think that what I love about Walt is one, amazing storyteller, right? So that is a huge skill set. If you can learn to tell stories, you're going to be a better guest, a better speaker, a better salesperson, a better employee because you can actually sell yourself for a raise. The other side too is look at your customer experience and then really ask yourself about all of the senses involved, right? What can they feel? What can they touch? What can they smell? What can they see, right? If you're going to host events, same thing. From the second someone shows up at your event, how do we do it different? How do we get them engaged? How do we get them to feel like they're at home? What are the concerns? What are they thinking about? What are the fears, right? And with AI now, what's great is you can just ask AI all of these things about your customer. This is my ideal customer. This is what I sell them. Here's my cycle. Could you tell me all the fears they have or concerns in doing business? If it's physical retail, they're concerned with where's the signage, where's the parking, how the hell do I get in your driveway? Great, answer all of those things. And so that's why I love Disney, is I feel like Disney, and if you compare it with Universal, I still think Disney wins, has created a more cohesive environment, especially in the park world, that fully immerses you in all of your senses.
Yeah, and it's so true, man. And that's how you bring people in. And so like when I create an event, I always go, what experience do I want to create and how do I want to make them feel? And I think that's kind of the question that's asked at the big scale for something like Disney. And I think like so many people miss that in the customer journey, and so many people miss delivering that in their connections. And you're somebody who has mastered it, and you teach this in your ACES community and beyond. I want you to talk a little bit about what is the ACES community, how can people find it, because it is a free thing for them to access. Talk all about it, man, because I think it's an invaluable thing for people to know what you teach in there and what they can get out of it.
Yeah, man, it's been so fun getting it dialed in too. This year has been a real focus that's what we've been focused on is how do we create a free community with high engagement and so much value it doesn't make sense. And I think that's exactly where we're at. So ACE is a free school community. You can go to connectionexpansion.com. That'll drop you onto the page of my website with more info. Or if you go to school, if you're on school, you can go to ACE's Connection Group. Just search it. It'll pop up or pretty easy to find. There's three pillars in the group. They're there on purpose. So the first is my whole connection expansion system masterclass is in there. So it's the masterclass, the GPTs, the scripts, anything and everything you need. It goes in tandem with my book. There's a link in there to get a free copy of the book as well. So all of the education is there so you can implement and tiptoe into this world of connections. The second pillar is we do connection blitz meetings, which is not your traditional networking. So if you've been to especially a virtual networking meeting, you've probably had a bad experience. So you probably don't want to go again. I promise if you come to one of ours, you're not going to be disappointed. And our guarantee is you're going to meet someone new on every meeting. Which is very unique and we're really good at it. So 1 hour, check those out. There's one a week. Again, still free. And then we do expert interviews. So just like we're doing here, I bring amazing people on. We get into the weeds. We talked about Brian earlier. Brian came on and dropped a whole bunch of wisdom on us about taking out your trash. So I think my uncle was telling me today we're just past our 25th expert interview in there. So there's over 20 hours of content with
Wow.
billionaire family offices, thought leaders in crazy spaces, people just doing outlandish stuff. And we get down and we get real deep and really in the weeds in their thing because I want to pack as much value as possible. So all three pillars are free. They're all inside of ACES. You can come hang out with us and there's something for everybody for sure.
Yeah, with more connection comes more opportunity. And you're so well connected. I imagine opportunity comes down the pipeline like crazy. How do you decide yes to this opportunity, no to this opportunity? What is your filter in this life?
Yeah, I would say this is something I'm probably still working on. I'm still massaging this. I do love business. So most of the time when people ask, like, Devin, tell me about yourself, I always default on my serial entrepreneur, man. Like I love business. Like I love the art of it, which is a blessing because I'm curious and I want to study it and learn it, but it's a curse because I have in the past historically jumped into a lot of things too quick. And so now I would say my boundaries have gotten better. Part of that's from you, and we talked about that at your last event. Like I really am protective of my time. So the Connection Blitz meeting, which is the networking opportunity in ACES, is how I protect my time in meeting new people. So that became, when I meet people, here's how I optimize my time, but maximize value for everybody. Okay, here's my offering. I only have one basically pay to play offering and then some strategy sessions. So I simplified my offering so that if someone says, I want to work together, it's like, okay, great. Do you need strategy or connections? And if the answer is no, then I'm not a fit. I can still connect you to someone that's a fit, but I don't have to be the guy. And so I had to figure out how to make that a true statement. And then when I'm vetting deep partnerships, which we are looking to launch a golf supplement coming out in the next couple of weeks, that'll be super fun, random project. And that's one that we are immersely partnered on. I look at, does it bring value to the world? So is it a product or service I think solves a need and something people are looking for? Yes, totally. I think there's a vacuum in that market. Am I highly connected to it? And can I move the needle fast enough without compromising my time, especially the family time? Yes. And do I see enough upside that there's an ROI gamble that's worth it, right? Am I going to get a return on my investment financially to put this time in? Otherwise, I'd rather just serve the clients that are already paying me. And so those are kind of the ways I vet it now. But I want to wrap all of that around the protecting your time message, because I think that has made me so much more focused on who I work with and how I work with them.
Yeah, and the time, dude, that's the only thing we can't get back, right? You can always make more money, you can always find different things to do. But time is something, as we talked about getting older before we hit record, time is something that is slipping away. And if I can design my life around what the things that make me money, the things that, aren't as important to me as family and fun and all those things, like it's such a key piece. But I want to ask you something I ask every single person on the show. It's a two-part question. The first part is, what is your definition of success? And the second part is, what are three things you do every single day to ensure that success for yourself?
Yeah, the definition of success is so fun. I struggle, and I knew this was coming up. I think success for me is, am I living on purpose and with purpose every day? Right. So on purpose, right? Am I intentional in the activities I'm doing? The one podcast we listened to talked about signal versus noise. I really like that reference, right? So am I on signal all day, or am I stuck in the noise? So I really like that. And then, is the stuff I'm doing having an impact, right? Does it align with the purpose I'm trying to have in the world? And so if those are true statements, then I feel like I'm successful, right? And compounding that over time will equal more of that. And then I have an always and never list, right? So for me, success can't compromise that list, right? So I will pick my daughter up from the bus. We will walk home. We will do stuff together tonight. It's non-negotiable. The three things I do for success every day, the big three, little three is important. So I always have three big things I'll accomplish today and three annoying things I have to get done. So that keeps everything moving forward. And the three annoying things are the key to that,
Yeah.
because those are the things everyone doesn't get to, right? They're at the bottom of your to-do list and they just keep getting pushed out. No, grab the three annoying things and get them off your plate first. How you start your day. And I don't mean you need to get up earlier. I'm definitely not going to give you the speech about compromising your morning time or whatever else. Like whatever that your work schedule works like, great. But when you sit down to work, how do you sit down, right? What's your goal, your intention? Do you buy yourself time to get set, get your emails clean, get your day scoped? Like, I think there's big things there. And then number three, track everything. So I task manage everything because I don't want it to take brain space. I want it to be on my list, clearly detailed, so I know when I have to do with it. So those are some things I do every day.
They're all huge, man. I love it. It without a doubt, like those things are beyond important. I'm really bad at the tracking everything. I'm a really big like keep it as simple as possible. So I'm a make a to do list before you leave your desk. And then you have to do those things the next day before you leave your desk again. No matter how big or small you make that list, that's up to you. I like to keep mine small so I can keep it moving. But I need to get better with, I'm sure yours is all digital and fancy. I literally type it in my phone and then just click the little dots as I execute them. But which works for me. And by the way, this is the last thing I'm checking off for the day. Interview Devin. But dude, I love that answer. And so one thing I wanted to get to with you is you're somebody who's created a lot of content. You've created a group full of people. You have written a book. By the way, shout out the book really quick and how do people get it?
Yeah, connection expansion book. You're one connection away from massive success in your life and business. That's the subtitle. It's on Amazon, all formats, in an audiobook if you want to digest it that way. Or if you go to my website, click the book link, you can get a free copy as well.
Awesome. So I want you to think about all that stuff you've created and now imagine that it's gone. All the podcasts you've ever been on, and you're at the end of your life, and you can only be remembered for one sentence. What would you want that sentence to be?
I met this guy, Devin, one day, and he did this thing for me, and he has no idea he did it.
Mm, that's
I
powerful,
think
man.
that summarizes all of it. I think it
That
summarizes all of it because those are the moments I don't know exist, but and that's okay. Like I don't need the credibility. I'd rather just have the impact. And so I would love that. I would love all of these like cool little moments where people are popping out going like, "Oh my God, did you know he did this? Did you know he did that?" And like I don't even know I did that because I just opened doors and let people shine. So that would probably be it, some version of that.
I love it, man. That's a phenomenal answer. But the good news is to everybody listening, all that stuff still exists. So make sure you get the book. Make sure you join Aces the group. Make sure you do all that stuff. Now I wrap up every single interview with the same question. But before we get there, is there anything else that you want to add? Since we kind of went over everywhere where people can go already, is there anything else you want to add before we get to the final question?
Yeah, I just want to challenge people on one thought process real quick. You have a social network, you have contacts in your phone, you have a CRM, you have an email list. There are people in your sphere right now that can fundamentally change your life, change your business, be strategic partners, be clients. You need to think about those contacts totally different in order to unlock that potential. And so every single person listening, I guarantee you could probably double your business with people you already know. Again, you just aren't thinking about it properly. So I want you to sit in that and I want you to really think about, do I need the next widget, the next tool? Do I need to meet a million more people? Do I need to do all these other things? Or like, do I need to actually slow down and look at what's around me and figure out how to optimize that a tad better? And I would guarantee you're going to see some value in there. So just a little brain exercise challenge for people. Think about your current assets as far as people and connections, and let's do more with those people.
I love it, dude. So, like I said, I wrap up every single interview with the same question. And that question is, in your life, what has been your biggest moment of growth?
I would say the Cat Cafe is probably the most interesting moment and the moment that kind of brought a lot of things together and taught us a whole lot. You know, we launched a business with my spouse, so that's interesting, right? There's complexity there. We launched in an industry I'd never owned a company in before. I've done consulting, but hadn't owned a retail company. We had the complexity of food and animals. We had the complexity of lower paid labor. We had a short timeline. We had a very specific budget, like very interesting constraints. And we succeeded despite a whole lot of really interesting challenges that popped up. And so I think for me, it was a validation moment that showed my network can deliver, my theories and processes work. And as a couple, we can do amazing things together, which I think is, one of the most validating things you can do with your spouse, whether it's a business or conquer any project together. And then make it through the season of turmoil, right? Because there was a lot of negative that came through that season as well. And so that was a really interesting moment that I think brought a lot of stuff together and really taught me a lot more about myself, what I like, and then it kind of deepened my relationship with my spouse. So lots of amazing things in that moment.
I love it, dude. Devin, thank you so much, man, for coming on and sharing your wisdom with my audience. But more importantly, thank you for your friendship. Thank you for your connection, man. You're truly one of the people in the last year that I will put on the list of grateful that I met, and look forward to staying connected as we both grow, and seeing where it goes, because you never know, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, brother. Looking forward to that Disney trip.